Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host, here in the studio with our wonderful engineer, Shannon McCurchie. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing great. I always feel better when I'm here.
Well, I love to hear that because we're a great team. And guess who else is in the studio with us? Jacob Santillán. Jacob Santillán. How are you doing, Jacob?
I can't complain.
Great, great, great. You know, we're going to have a great discussion today, and I hope to hear a little bit from Jacobo as well, because, you know, we like to go at it ever so often because we have different point of views, but we enjoy it all. Folks, please do remember this is a call-in show. The telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I'd love to hear from a lot of you guys. I'm going to say a few things that I think some of my good friends are going to say. Egberto, don't be a sell out, including my friend Senor Jacob Santillán, but I really want you to look at the core of what's going to be spoken about here. Now, I also want to first tell you guys that we want positive affirmations, or I'm giving you positive affirmations out there in the aggregate, folks. We all have to remain positive. So before I get started with the show, Jacob, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing okay. It's it's a wonderful day.
Okay, great. Anyhow, folks, before we get started, here we go. Today, we will discuss the implications of Hillary Clinton's sweep on Tuesday, Bernie Sanders' prospects, and the options for the Bernie Sanders revolution. Folks, I want to make everyone aware of a huge upcoming event at the Lone Star Kingwood campus. The Lone Star Book Festival is free and open to public and takes place in Kingwood, Texas at the Lone Star College Kingwood campus. Please, folks, get out there to that show. It's a great show. The 2016 festival will take place April 8th and April 9th. Nationally and internationally known authors will come to LSC Kingwood, that's Lone Star College Kingwood, to speak to audiences about their ideas, meet the attendees, and sign copies of their work. Great place to go out there with, buy some books, get some books, meet the authors. With over 150 authors attending, the Lone Star Book Festival promises to be an exciting cultural event. There will be a full day of children's activities on Saturday with readings for pre-K to young adults, in addition to musical, petting zoo, and arts and crafts. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices. The programs that I love as a political activist, my favorites are The Monitor with Mark Bebawi on Mondays at 7 p.m., Think Wing Radio with Mike Honig on Mondays at 9 p.m., Partisan Gridlock with Jeff Berg on Fridays at 3 p.m., Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by my good friend Juan Flores on Mondays at 10 p.m. And do remember, he also does it on Thursdays from noon till 2. Juan, actually pretty good. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to the medicine to the eclectic. KPFT's listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news programming and information not influenced by the corporatocracy. Look, folks, give us a call as well. And don't forget, go to kpft.org, make that donation, and keep this station on air. But Before we go any further, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks, I ask you that you listen to the post in the spirit in which it was written. Title: Bernie Sanders supporters must remain the alter ego of the Democratic Party. What do I mean by that? Look, it happened right after the South Carolina primary in 2008. 2008. I always liked then Senator Barack Obama. I just thought he did not stand a chance. After all, America was not sufficiently mature to elect a black man as its president. When Obama won South Carolina, I was still a Hillary Clinton supporter. But then Bill Clinton opened his mouth. It wasn't what he said, but how he said it. It is that feeling most people in America understand very well. It is a dismissal of an accomplishment that was, if worn by someone with white skin, would have been exceptional. I knew then that effective immediately, I would be a supporter of Barack Hussein Obama. I hoped he would win, but I was ready for the loss. The election of President Obama proved that majority of Americans were willing to look past their prejudices and vote their intellect. I remember going to house party after house party in many middle class and upper middle class, mostly white neighborhoods. I remember the discomfort I felt because these were Obama bots throughout these Houston suburbs. Their expectations were simply too high for the Obama presidency. These were all good people who were basking in their liberal tolerance. Of course, as a black man, I'm well versed in the blowback that would occur. The latent carnal prejudice of many of these same supporters would color the presidency, which would ultimately degrade the efficacy of the administration. The Obama campaign taught us a lot. Obama seeded the communities that would likely be problematic to his campaign. Obama went to universities throughout Texas. He ensured kids had access to his inspirational book, and these children had their parents read his book. I was on board the Bernie Sanders campaign from the beginning. The Obama campaign taught me that the candidate anointed overwhelmingly by the establishment was not a shoo-in. I never bought into the fallacy that the socialist moniker was a bigger boat anchor than race. After all, we embrace our socialist Europeans much more than we do our black Democrats. Yes, socialist Democrat Bernie Sanders can win. Bernie Sanders, while not as poetic as Senator Obama or then Senator Obama, was much more inspirational to me. Why? Because Sanders got it. Obama compromised to win his election. He also made concessions that took us on a path to universal health care. He made the necessary pact with the plutocracy to move forward. Bernie Sanders' model completely removes the plutocracy from his fundraising. He became a fundraising juggernaut. This stance gives him the freedom to create policies that put the interests of the average American citizen finally on par with the plutocracy. Those that understand American politics, or at least take the time to listen to and fact checks Bernie Sanders more often than not, support him. There is a problem, however. Bernie Sanders did not pre-engage enough of the Democratic base to make him immediately viable to many as Obama did. It has cost him dearly in the southern states. The chances are slim for Bernie Sanders to become the nominee. Hillary Clinton would have to go into a free fall, which is unlikely. So should Bernie Sanders quit because his chances are slim? Absolutely not. Bernie Sanders must continue to hold his rallies. He must continue to build a movement that must carry on whether he wins or loses the Democratic primary. He must keep reminding followers that the purpose of seeking the presidency is to execute the informed will of the people. Obama could have turned the Obama coalition into a movement. I never understood why he did not turn it into the force it could have been. In fact, a movement is much bigger than the presidency. The president is subject to the movement. Two distinct populist movements are occurring in America today: the Bernie Sanders revolution and the Donald Trump nativist movement. The Bernie Sanders revolution, the real populist movement, was hamstrung from its inception, yet it continues to grow. The Donald Trump movement was left unabated. It is a fallacy to believe that the Republican establishment was caught flat-footed. The problem is that it lost control of the message. Make no mistake, Donald Trump's message is resonating with many, including Democrats, who feel abandoned by the Democratic establishment. Hate and anger sell. Nativism during distress sells, but it solves nothing. Those who support Bernie Sanders will have to make a choice if he is unable to win the nomination. They will have to listen to his words profoundly. It is not about him. It is about a movement. A movement that has the presidency is the best of all outcomes depending on who is the president. A movement without the presidency can be effective as well. President Trump would have a movement. President Sanders would have a movement. Trump would be a disaster for most. Sanders, with his movement, would eventually get a more progressive America. So for this cycle, it is Hillary Clinton who has amassed the popular vote and delegates thus far. Not necessarily forever, thus far. That is the reality. If she is to become the nominee of the Democratic Party, it is imperative then that the Bernie Sanders movement continue. It is imperative that Hillary Clinton get the Bernie Sanders vote with the understanding that the movement will keep her true to her populist transformation. In other words, not a transformation in words only to get a vote, but knowing that there is a movement behind that will enforce completely said transformation. Bernie Sanders supporters must remain the functional alter ego of the Democratic Party. Now, folks, this is the blog of the week. I know we're going to get a few calls. I'm not sure. I think we're having some telephone problems still. I think some of those phones may still not be transferred completely while we're getting those shutoffs.
Well, it's kind of strange because people just keep calling, but it's just dial tone. But we're going to try to see what's going on here and get you on the line.
Right now, I think we have the first line that is running, and we may only have one line running right now, so I'm going to take it as it comes. So let's go to line one, which is the only line up right now. John, come on in.
Hello.
Yes, John.
Hey, how are you doing?
All right, how are you doing?
I'm all right. You know what? That blog of yours is absolutely right on point. But what I wanted to really talk about today was this phenomenon of Donald Trump and the farce created by the media. And I don't typically, I hear what he's saying, and just like your blog is saying, the Democratic Party needs to be held accountable for the past 8 years. Listen, what Donald Trump is saying is not an accident. This country has been ruled by people who believe that they have the right to tell us what is correct. Like we are idiots who cannot think for ourselves.
Right.
Listen, who went to jail when they crashed the economy in 2008?
Not one person.
Who went to jail when kids and thousands of people have been killed in the Middle East for a war that has been false?
Not one person.
Who was going to jail for the corruption in the Pentagon and you cannot question their budget?
Not anybody. It's
Who
been
was
the largest
going to jail
theft.
in Michigan where the government is giving people water with lead and killing and completely ruining the lives of kids?
Nobody.
Exactly. So that's my point. Nobody is accountable in this country for anything. Apart from the local people, if you don't pay your ticket, you go to jail. If you're Hispanic or black and you stop for a ticket, if you try to do anything, reach for a wallet, you're shot. That's what's making everybody angry in this country. I mean, the economic policies of of Bill Clinton, are they not the same people responsible for the NAFTA and the TPP that they're trying to pass?
No. Let me tell you something, John. And I wrote a book a few years ago called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And one of the things that I said I was going to do in that book is to be very fair. In other words, as liberal left-wing that I am, I was going to put blame where blame belonged. And there was an important feature, and that is what's so disconcerting about a lot of what we hear about, let's say, the Clintons and today and so forth. Now, when you look at the base that created that created the reality that caused the the economic meltdown throughout the world, it
Right.
really turns out, right, that a lot of the policies that were passed were actually passed under the Clinton administration. I mean, that is
Okay.
a fact. I mean, if you
Right.
look at the getting rid of Glass-Steagall and a few other certain types of deregulations, et cetera, those
Right.
happened those were policies that were created under Clinton. If you look at NAFTA, all these are truths. Okay. Now
Right.
this isn't trying to give anybody else a pass. It's not trying to give Republicans a pass either, because they would have been no better had they had the presidency there. What we have to come to realize is there's much more to the presidency. The presidency is there for whomever controls it, and so far our presidency has been controlled by a plutocracy, by the well-to-do, by the corporatocracy, by those with money. Now, people are tired of hearing that, right? They're tired.
Exactly.
They're tired of hearing.
Everybody's tired of
We're
listening
tired
to
of
it."
hearing that everything is the corporation's fault or whatever. That's not what we're saying, though. What many are saying now is, look, all those things are true. You may be tired of hearing it, but the only solution is for you to get engaged. That's the only solution to all these problems, for you to get engaged.
What really frustrates me is that we hear this: get engaged, get engaged, get engaged. There is no more outpouring of support, like you mentioned. The Hispanics, the support they gave Barack Obama, the blacks, everybody was voting for Barack just to change something. And it was so disappointing when I heard the same man from his mouth say that I'm looking forward, not backwards. After every single thing and all the voting and all the people like you went door to door campaigning for him. It's a travesty. And you know what makes it even worse? Is to think that kids in this country are having to graduate with huge debts. And we've taken all this as normal.
Right. Well,
This is not normal.
And you know what hurts the most? I'm going to have to go to a break in a second, John. And then, so I'm going to have to hang up on you. And I hope other people will call in. We're having some phone problems with calling, because once the line picks up, I think we'll be able to get another one. Let's see. A line is ringing now. Let's see if this is going to die as well as it comes in. It dies again. We just can't. We are having some sort of phone problem. So we're going to let you go, John, so that the other line can come in.
Right,
and
thank
see.
you.
Thank
Maybe
you
I've
for.
lost all the
Yeah.
lines.
And we're
Sorry.
gonna go to traffic now. Let me, David, make sure. Jacob, make sure that all those other calls that are coming, that the other phones are the ones that are transferred, because we can't get our calls in. Yeah. Excellent. Let's go to traffic and see if we can clean up the phone problem. But we have somebody that's calling in right now on one that we can take care of. Now,
Okay. Actually, let's take a quick look at your afternoon commute on the West Loop. There's an accident northbound at West Park. That's a multiple vehicle accident affecting two center lanes to the right shoulder. And traffic is backed up at this moment all the way down to Evergreen and all the way up to the Katy Freeway. And on the Katy Freeway inbound before the West Loop, a multiple vehicle accident is affecting the left and two center lanes. And on the South Sam Houston Tollway westbound at US 90 alternate South Main, an accident is affecting the entrance ramp in that area. And on the West Sam Houston Tollway southbound before Beach Nut, an accident is affecting the center lane to the left shoulder, backing up traffic to Richmond. Let's take a brief look at your weather around town. It is currently 81 degrees and mostly cloudy skies here in the heart of Montrose. It feels like 84 degrees out there. 30% chance of isolated thunderstorms today. And this evening, thunderstorms become more likely. Low of 68 degrees. And on Friday, expect cloudy skies in the morning, and there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms developing later in the day. High of 85 degrees. That's a look at your afternoon commute and your weather around town. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to KPFT Houston 90.1, Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies.
Okay, folks, bear with us a second, because it looks like we only have one line functioning correctly, so we're going to have to take them and go to the next, etc., because it is calls are coming in and then we're losing them, calling in and losing them. Let's go to
John.
line one. John, come on in, John.
Yeah, good afternoon, Egberto.
How are you doing, my friend?
Okay, I agree with most of what you're saying here. I guess and I think it's very important, that Sanders does stay in the race, and he keeps getting his message out. But I think it's also very important that at the end of the day, if he's not the candidate, that we actually, do what Bernie really wants us to do, and that's support the Democratic candidate. I think it's extremely important. And, for the people that are even considering supporting Trump, kind of with this burn it down.
Right.
I hear a lot of them, on the net especially, and it's kind of shocking. But you really have to think about, his racism and the fact that he doesn't know about policy.
Right.
So I think that's really important. Another thing concerning, the whole idea, I think we had a little bit of a disagreement last week about the whole gatekeeper thing.
Right. Before you bring that up, I want to tell you something. When I was writing the blog, you were one of the first people that came to mind, because as I wrote it, I said to myself, I wonder what John is going to say about this portion here. So I'll be interested. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, I just think, as much as I'm a huge Bernie fan, and to me, this movement, we have the people, we have the young people, and I'm just so grateful that the millennials and the people under 40 are supportive and really have the intellectual capacity. I mean, they've been tremendous, and I have such new appreciation for them, more than I ever have in any group, young movement in the history of my lifetime. So that's really important. But what I want is actually the candidates. I don't see the candidates coming up, and this is always an issue for people living in Texas. I just don't see progressive candidates. I mean, it's my civic duty to go vote for people,
right.
And I will do that. I vote in every election, every school board election, whatever it is, I vote in. But, where are the progressive candidates? And that's what I want to see. I want to see more candidates coming out. And as far as the Trump side, as far as him being a gatekeeper, I just don't see that. I think that.
Let me say what I'm trying to include. I kind of refer to that again in the blog of the week here, where I said that there are two movements that are currently active in the United States of America, and I think it would be wrong for us to deny that Trump does have a movement. I mean, it is a bad movement. It's a wrong movement, but it is a bad movement. And to think that it doesn't have legs, we take that at our own peril. Because I tell you, nothing that has been reported thus far has been correct. And the reason it hasn't been correct is for a long time, these guys have not, again, a lot of these reporters, journalists are nothing but elitist folk, that somehow they have not lived the experiences of the average American citizen. The experiences of the average American citizen has been going, for the most part, and I'm not talking about the 20% that are doing just fine, but for the others that have been continuously going downhill. That's America's reality, and the elitists that we have in the media and elsewhere, they're not seeing these things, and they are not looking for it, they're not seeing it, and so the formulas that applied before no longer apply. People are fed up, and when they say fed up, why are you fed up? I mean, because things aren't going right. And how do you get it solved? You have two trends of thoughts, right? You have two movements. You have one that says you're not doing fine because of the other doing XYZ to you. Then you have those others that are saying you are not doing fine because what the reality of what's wrong, and you and I and all the listeners always speak about that year after year, day after day, the corporatization of the United States of America, where the only thing that has value is the corporation, wealth, and capital. That's what has value here. That's why a stockbroker makes more than a doctor. That's why a stockbroker makes more than an engineer, because of what we actually cherish in this country. And we all know it needs a change. And, Bernie has been speaking to that type of a change. Hillary has been trying to be somewhere in the middle of, you can have half the cake and eat it too. And then you have Trump, who has gone to the lie, the nativism, and that's his movement. And that movement does have appeal. If I can look at my neighbor and put all my problems at my neighbor, I can feel and I can touch my neighbor. I can see my neighbor buy that car that I couldn't get. I can see my other neighbor lose that house, the house that I'm scared of losing. We can see all those things. We can see all those things, and that scares people. And when you
right,
go ahead.
But I mean, what do you think is more important to Trump supporters? This kind of Trump is going to save us from economic collapse, or the fact that he's a racist. I mean, and I think it's overwhelmingly the fact that he's a racist.
But here's a picture. I want you to picture Donald Trump with a group of black ministers, with a group of Hispanic women, with a group of with Omarosa next to her, and all these particular issues, and then you say you're a racist. Let me look. First of all, deep inside, I'll be frank with you. Okay, I don't think deep on the inside, Trump is a racist. I honestly do not believe that. I do believe that he knows his audience, though, and he's a salesman, and I think he's playing to a particular sect, and not all, but a particular sect of the Republican Party. And what happens in real life is that when people want to belong, and when people want to, or when people are hurting, though, rational thinking goes away. And when I talk about our carnality, that's what I'm talking about. That kicks in. And again, it's difficult when we talk to somebody like you, John. You're well aware. You're a learned man. You read. You're 100% informed. But if you are if you are not, then Donald Trump, a plain-spoken billionaire, looks pretty darn good. And
okay,
go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Barack Obama won a vast majority of delegates in two elections.
Mm-hmm.
He won, 331 votes, 332 to 206 against Romney.
Yes.
Which states is Trump gonna win that Obama won twice? I mean, for him to get to 270. I mean, with his racism, I mean, I just don't see it. And the polls are supporting. The polls are seeing that people are running away from Trump all over in all the swing states.
Let me just say.
I know you're going to say it's early,
right?
But I mean, I just don't see them coming back. I mean, this is something that you're taught at a young age.
Yes.
And a vast majority, when you're 2, 3, 4 years old, you are taught by most, and I think a majority, I would say 85% of the people, and I hope I'm being, low here,
right,
teach their children not to be racist.
Yes.
And I just don't see this happening. I just don't see Trump.
And that is, John, I'll be frank with you, that is because you are seeing it through your eyes and the type of person that you are. What I can say is based on experiences, and I tried to allude to that when I spoke about, and in fact that's the reason I gave the preamble to the blog where I spoke about Obama and the communities where Obama became very loved, and what the fear that I had, because I understood the psychology of it's what I like to call carnal racism. I mean, it's not an overt thing, and it's not something that comes out when you're trying to be good. We all want to be good. We all have our prejudices, all of us. But what happens is in these times of stress, a lot of these things that would normally not come out, I bet, would come out. And that is my biggest fear, because I went out to lunch with a young lady today, and she said something that didn't surprise me, but it surprised her. And she said, a good friend of mine, I found out a few days ago, I believe is what she said, was a Trump supporter. And based on who it was, I was shocked. And I smiled. And I said, that really doesn't shock me, because I understand how it works, and Trump does as well. and that is why I fear what can occur. And I mean, these are good people. Okay, there are a lot of good people that latent beliefs, latent structures in the mind. We're just human. That unless it is, that's going to take generations to get rid of. And right now we have to use our intellect to get rid of it. And in these times, intellect doesn't always win. And that is my concern. I'd love to be wrong, by the way, John, right? I would love to be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to be wrong.
I mean, what I'm saying, though, is that, out of everybody, who are in the prominent liberal blogosphere, I think you have the biggest fear of Trump being elected
I do.
Anybody
I've
ever seen. And I think this is because you're in a red state, and I am too. And so we see this all around us. We see how awful our state legislatures are.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we live in one of the worst states in the country as far as all the elected officials and all the regressive laws that they put in, and to many people, Texas is a laughing stock,
yes.
For the country, and it's well deserved in my opinion.
Yes.
And so I just want you to think, realize that yes, we have to. I agree with we have to be vigilant, and we have to support our candidates, but I think you're overemphasizing the fact that Trump really has a big shot at winning. I mean, right now, would you say that Trump is the favorite right now?
Well, the polls don't say that he's a favorite, right? But you know what? It doesn't say that at all. But let me tell you what my fear is. And there are other calls coming in, John, which means I'm going to have to eventually drop you because we only have one line working. So I'm going to have to give somebody else a chance to come in on line one. But here's the deal, John. There are times that we say, let's not be foolish, that you have to believe the polls, right? I think there are a lot of people who would vote for Trump, but won't dare say that they would vote for Trump. And this person that I spoke about, I know this is empirical. I know this is sort of a, what do you call it, an off-base thing, but I just fear. But John, I got to go to try to get some other calls in, and we only have one line working right now. So keep on listening, my friend. kpft.org/listen is where you can listen online as well, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Okay, let's go to weather, and then we'll take whatever other calls come in.
Sounds good, Egberto. Okay, let's take a brief look at your afternoon commute. On the West Loop northbound at West Park, there's still that multiple vehicle accident affecting two center lanes to the right shoulder, backing up traffic to Evergreen. Spring breakers are backing up traffic on the Gulf Freeway inbound from Clear Creek all the way up to Dixie Farm. Also slow going from Monroe to the South Loop and from Telephone to downtown. High waters reportedly affecting the right shoulder and a frontage road lane on the Southwest Freeway outbound at the Brazos River. It is currently 8 now on Weather Underground, about 100%. So, it's a pretty good chance. And a low of 68 degrees. On Friday, expect cloudy skies in the morning, and there's about 80% chance of thunderstorms developing later in the day. A few of these storms may be severe. High near 85 degrees. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies, right here on KPFT Houston.
Muchas gracias, Shannon. We got a call coming in, and folks, bear with us as we really try to get these lines fixed. So if you call and you can't get in or whatever, just go ahead and keep calling because you'll eventually get in. We're trying to get these phone lines fixed. We've missed a ton of calls, but that's fine. Let's go to line number one. Line number one, come on in. Let's see. Come on in, line number one.
Hello.
Yes, how are you doing, sir?
Egberto, have you heard about that plan I heard proposed to have you're pro-immigration, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you heard about that plan that they had about having in the government a Department of the Future? Did you hear about that?
Tell me about it. No, I don't think I have.
Well, it was on the NPR radio, and they're saying, well, we should have people who focus on the future, what's going to happen in 50 years and 100 years, and our energy policy and our our economic policy. You hadn't heard that?
No, tell me about it. Tell me some more. What is it all about?
That's all I know. I just know that someone's proposing that we have a department. We have the Department of Education, and so I'm setting you up here. Okay. My point is how. Speaking of the future, what's going to happen when the United States is like India, and there are over 1 billion people living here, half of whom don't even have a home or a job? Have we considered putting 10 ounces of water in an 8-ounce glass? I mean, isn't there some logical calculation we can come to as far as humanity's overpopulation what about the animals and the trees and the plants? I mean, we're going to just smother ourselves, aren't we?
I think I used to listen to you on Mike's show speak about the overpopulation problem.
That's the guy.
Right, on Mike's wonderful show. And you know what,
we have,
Gary,
because of it.
Gary,
right?
You're right. Look, let me tell you, okay? There are so many smart people that call in with these particular issues. I mean, we have an overpopulation issue. Where it comes to America, it's not even close to being the case. When it comes, look, there are a lot of things that I'm going to say something here that a lot of people don't realize, and that is the reality, right? Is that we, how should I put this appropriately? We really do not have yet in the world an overpopulation problem. What we have is an inefficient allocation of resources. Supposedly, capitalism, by definition, works because it is the efficient allocator of resources. And my contention is that is absolutely false. And in so stating, I am also stating that what has happened is many of the countries are in the conditions that they're in. And by the way, yes, I understand that a lot of it is self-inflicted because of education and that sort of thing. But also a massive portion of that is based on exploitation.
Now, wait a minute. That's baloney, and you sound like the Pope.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and tell me why it's baloney, my dear friend.
The Pope was criticizing Western governments because they went in and they wanted to give out grants and money to help people, but they wanted a little contraception involved, and he said, well, that was...
Oh, well, I can't disagree, Gary.
Colonialism. Now, can you figure out...
Wait, stop. Let me tell you, my dear friend.
Why are the least successful economically, now we're talking money...
Sure.
Why are the poorest countries the most overpopulated? Do you see a connection there?
Yes, sir. Look, remember, you don't... Not because you are right.
Well, how can you be against abortion and yet also be against contraception? How can you be against immigration and be against... We have to get a handle on this. That's why I mentioned the Department of the Future. You got to look ahead 100 years.
My friend.
Look at your grandkids' world here.
Okay, Gary, hold on 1 second. Listen to me now. I listen to you, right? Listen to me now. I listen to you. Remember, here's the deal. Here's the deal, my friend. Here's the deal. First of all, I don't agree with the Pope as far as the contraception issue. I mean, you see, and that is where we get into trouble. We all want to go into a corner and say we're absolutely going to do things this way. That's not me at all. I believe we do things that work. And I'm not restricted by the sense of what one religion says over another, which then gives me many options. And yes, you are absolutely right when you say, what's the problem with offering grants with contraception? I'll be honest with you. I don't know this for a fact, but my hope is, or I believe, what the Pope may have been stating is that it seemed like a trade for, in other words, we give you help if you do this, a master-slave relationship, okay? And I think that was his concern. In other words, his concern was that master-slave relationship as opposed to a persuasive relationship that educates. You yourself said it. More educated countries by definition, contraception is used and the birth rates are lower. Therefore, it isn't necessary for the plutocracies of the world to go into the third world, which many times they have exploited to attain the riches that they have, to then go in and say, okay, you dummies, you stop having babies and we'll give you money. It's a different thought process. One is a process of a master-slave relationship. The other one is a process of realizing we're all humans and that the mistakes we make are generally made from externalities.
I agree with you. I agree 100%. The point is that we can argue about how many people are in the lifeboat until we sink under the water. Nobody is really, I mean, we're getting back to Trump and Clinton and all of these people, and we're all focusing on our day-to-day issues. Nobody's looking ahead 100 years. Look at the climate change issue. Look at the economics. Look at how many people live under bridges, and even in the United States. There's not enough pie.
Gary?
To feed people.
Gary?
Why won't we address this
and
issue?
You know,
Hello?
Let me tell you something, Gary. First of all, guess what you are doing right now?
Ranting and raving?
No, right now. No. Hold on. You are on a station, KPFT.org, KPFT 90.1 FM, putting out the voice of the people, somebody who is learned in a particular issue, and you are getting us to talk about it, and you are getting us to have an intelligent conversation about it. In effect, what I'm telling you is if there are more of you out there that are actually engaged in the body politic, we won't only be talking about Trump and all these other issues, but you would expand the education base, which you have just done. And that is what we need everybody around this country to do. Those are some of the issues when we hear Bernie talks about full engagement, when we hear Bernie talks about all these other issues, is about all of us getting involved, because none of us have all the answers. A lot of us know issues. I mean, there are issues that come to me where people say, hey, have you ever thought about that? My answer to them is no, but I should. You just came up about, we're looking at all these other problems. What about overpopulation? Should we talk about it? Yes. But we don't talk about it to just rant about it. We talk about it in such a manner that we get answers. We're not trying to say who's right or who's wrong, but how can we get answers? And that's the spirit with which I try to conduct this particular program.
Which is why I listen, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling, Gary. Folks, as soon as Gary gets off, a line will be open, 713-526-5738. We're still having telephone problems, but a line just became open. Give me a call, 713-526-5738. Gary brought up a very good point about overpopulation. All these, in the long run, all these things tie in. But while I wait for somebody to be brave enough to give a call, given all our telephone problems, I'm going to bring in Jacob Santillan into discussing something that he has wanted to discuss a very long time with me. So go ahead, Jacob, and make your case. Oh, he has.
Hold on. I gotta take care of something for the news.
Okay, go ahead and take.
I'm not wimping out. I promise.
You know what, folks? I think Jacob just wimped out and used the formulation of the news as an issue. But anyhow, the number 713-526-5738.
In his defense, Marlo just did come in the room.
Oh, so. Marlo came in?
Yes,
Marlo should have come here and have a sit down with me as well.
Well, it's coming up in 15 minutes.
In 15 minutes, we're going to have the news. But anyhow, folks, telephone lines available, 713-526-5738. I know a lot of you been calling. I know a lot of you just kept ringing and didn't get you. Well, we got a phone call now coming in. Bear with us. You know, like I said, we're a public station, and not only that we're a public station, but we're a public station with a whole lot of old equipment. So we do need you to remember to go to kpft.org and keep us up and running. Let's go to line number
Lyndon.
1. Lyndon, come on in.
Lyndon,
come on in. How you doing, Lyndon?
I'm doing fine. I wanted to talk about what the last caller was talking about, overpopulation.
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's the overpopulation that's the issue. It's the with the symptoms of overpopulation. Why is overpopulation an issue? Is more of what we should be talking about versus, I mean, the planet has a certain amount of people that it can support, yes, but what are the reasons why that we can't have more people on the planet? You know, because of the pollution, the food. We alone in the United States grow enough food to feed the planet.
Right.
So why is overpopulation an issue in regards to food?
Now, Lyndon, right?
Right.
Lyndon, I don't know if you had heard the entire answer that I gave him, and I gave him the answer from a capitalistic point of view. And what I told him is, and for those who haven't listened or those who just jumped into the car right now, I want to express it this way. We are the powerful countries of the world practice an economic system known as capitalism, and capitalism is defined as the efficient allocation of resources. Supposedly, in a capitalist society, given the whole population and given everything being equal, that it efficiently allocates resources, which means supposedly that we all should be doing fine. Well, we see what has happened in the United States of America. What has happened in the United States of America is that we have this huge income and wealth disparity. Let's expand that out to the world. What we see is that our form of economy has extracted so much so from all the other countries, many countries, and you never hear it quite this way, right? Some people would say, oh, what are you talking about? We can show you numerically where raw materials are. I mean, let's put it this way. If I go to, let me see, give me a country let's use Jamaica. Jamaica has a lot of bauxite. What is bauxite? Bauxite is the precursor to aluminum. It's the thing that's used to create aluminum. Okay? Now, we extract bauxite out of Jamaica. We pay small values for that, small amount of money for that. We bring that raw material to wherever in the world, whatever Western country. We turn it into aluminum, which is a very expensive material, and then they buy it back. What does that tell you? That's a net loss of capital from that country. That's extractive from that country. And we can go from country onto country onto country. Now, we have changed borders altogether now with TPP and all these other agreements now. Plutocrats have realized one thing. We can make the United States bauxite. We can make the United States anything else. And the world abides as well. So in effect, what I'm saying is you are absolutely correct when you say why it is occurring. It is occurring because of the economic system that we have is a system that does not create equity, is a system that prevents equity. It's a system that says these will be winners and those will be losers.
All right, well, thank you. I just wanted to let you know you're my favorite so far.
Well, thank you, my brother, and you have a wonderful day, okay? And
all right, you too.
And you guys keep calling. Folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. As soon as Lyndon is gone, we have another line open, and it looks like Jacob has decided to join the fold. Jacob.
I swear I'm not chickening out. How's it going?
I never thought you were chickening out. I was just making fun of you. Anyhow, you thought the blog that I had out there, you had some concerns with the blog, and I'd love to hear your concerns.
Concerns, maybe not the right word, but certainly disagreement, friendly disagreement, of course. I'm just one of the folks. I'm one of the folks that the Democratic Party establishment worries about. I'm actually not a Democrat.
Right.
I mean, I am in the sense that I vote in the primary, but beyond that, I really am not. I am a Bernie Sanders supporter,
right?
And also anybody but Hillary, primarily because I can't do it anymore.
Right.
I can't keep doing the whole lesser evil kind of argument.
I understand.
It's been a dry well for me since 2009.
2008.
Yeah, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
It's
now, Jacob, I really understand where you're coming from. I really do. But I think what is very important is to look at the options. I want to go through your methodology real quickly before I jump to the other line. Okay.
Okay.
So, what are you going to do at election time?
Most likely, I'll probably end up perhaps voting Libertarian, either or Bernie Sanders as a write-in if I'm feeling particularly mischievous or in a dark mood. And
that's fine. And what do you think will be the result of you doing that?
Probably the Republican candidate. Well, actually, here in Texas, my vote probably won't matter because it's going to swing Republican anyway.
Right.
But I imagine that if a lot of other people end up doing that, probably the Republican will end up winning. But
right.
I mean, I don't don't particularly care in the sense that because I can't, and because perhaps even the establishment needs to get spanked.
I understand that. Let me just make the part of the case that I don't know that I made clear in the blog, right? I think that's an understandable feeling, but that feeling specifically can actually hurt a lot of folk. In other words, we have, in fact, under President Obama, made incremental changes that, while not the best, have actually been successful. Okay? We have made incremental change that has actually improved the lives of millions. In saying so, if the presidency of a Trump, let's say, were to reverse some of these things, because, let's say, many folks throw their hands up in the air and say, well, I was a supporter of X, I simply can't anymore, then it actually has a material effect on people. We don't want things to be where they are now, but we sure don't want them to be where they were before.
I kind of get that too, but
right.
It's still kind of astonishing to me that, essentially the Democratic Party establishment got handed on a silver platter one of the most sincere, likable people to have ever run for the position, and said, let's go for the person who has no moral, intellectual, or ideological foundation.
May I
whatsoever.
interrupt you a second?
Yeah, I was just want to finish my
thought. What I want to say as a reply to that is, it is important, right? It is important that we do one thing. I think what we have to do is take a look at what these results would be, and not just a personal feeling, because a personal feeling goes away. Policy sticks around, and the effect of policy sticks around. What I think should be what I think those people that have the feelings that you have, right? And you know well that I respect everybody's feelings and their thought process, the methodology that they use. But what I try to tell folks is, there is a problem in all the parties. There is a problem with establishments. What I think is a solution to problems is engagement. And when I say engagement, I'm not talking about engagement during the election period. In fact, that is one of the things that I kind of held against Bernie Sanders in some of the losses that he has. And that is, Bernie Sanders, as great as I think he is, he did not engage early enough to establish himself. And I think that is something that could be done later on. So anyway, let me jump on to line number one. Line number one, come on in.
Jerry.
Come on, Jerry.
Yeah, what I was going to say is what people miss the boat about on capitalism is, you can't wait for the market to work when you've got something like a Katrina.
Right. Yes.
And everything. It's, there's a time factor there and everything. It's just like, they sit there and say, there's Say's law.
Right.
Supply creates its own demand. In other words, markets always clear. They may always clear, but they're not going to. Many times they don't clear in a time frame where it keeps people from going broke or whatever.
Right.
No, and all that.
No, let me tell you, you're so correct about that, right? Now, when it comes to the markets, though, I have some other issues. I think markets is just another tool. I mean, the market system is just another tool, and I think it is supposed to be regulated strongly by us to create the type of environment that we want. It's not the magical thing that many would like us to believe that it is. So,
I think it's pretty amazing in its way, but the price mechanism does work.
Absolutely, no
surprisingly
doubt.
Well, but
no doubt. That's not what I'm discussing about.
No, I know.
You're absolutely right. But I do think that, remember, the tenets of the market has no humanity. But we are humans,
and it's not a political system like you've said before.
Exactly. So my thing is, I want markets. I want free enterprise, but I want us to remember that we are all humans and we control it. Look, we were having line problems. It looked like a second line came in, so I got to run, my friend. And
okay, I'll let you go. Thanks.
Thank you for being with us, my friend. Nancy, come on in, Nancy. How you doing?
Thanks. I wanted to say that every vote matters.
Yes, it does.
Especially a sincere vote, even if it's for Ralph Nader, even if it's for a person who cannot win. But what I'm going to do is I'm planning to vote for the Green Party candidate, and she is not yet an official one, but she is probably going to get it. It's
right.
Jill Stein.
I know her. I interviewed Jill Stein.
The reason is she is her platform is very similar to Sanders, but big difference. She's not for killing the Palestinians. She's not for giving $3.1 billion of our tax money in the form mostly of weapons.
Nancy, I got to go. Look here. First of all, thank you for the call.
She's the only candidate that is for abolishing student debt.
Look, I understand all of that, Nancy, and you're absolutely right.
Have her on. Why don't you have her on? You just talk about Sanders and Trump.
I have. If you go to my website, you'll see that I don't only have her on. I interviewed her at the Democracy Convention, so she's at my website. So yes, I mean.
No, I mean have her on.
If she comes into town, I will. Okay.
Okay. What if she calls in? Is that okay?
Absolutely. You have a wonderful day, Nancy. Take care, my friend.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Let's have line number 1. Let's talk to Kino. Come on in, Kino.
Oh, that was quick. Thank you. Some of these callers call in and they doubt Hillary's abilities to run the country, which, I'm looking at it as 61 plus years old. Hillary knows the people that she has to deal with already. As Secretary of State, she's already dealt with them.
I think you're absolutely... look, I don't doubt Hillary's capability of... I think Hillary is an exceptional leader. I just don't agree with what I think were Hillary's previous policies. Now, I think Bernie Sanders has driven Hillary into accepting policies or tacitly accepting policies that are good for the middle class. Whether she does that or not is debatable, but if she's a candidate, I think the Bernie Sanders supporters should continue building their movement, but in my opinion, I think she should be given consideration, in my opinion, okay, not anybody else's opinion, not a station's opinion or anything, I think must be given consideration. And again, like I said, the woman is a very, very smart woman. That is a fact. But again, I think it is also important that movements be kept so that we keep these politicians honest. I got to go to a last call real quickly, and I can only be on that call for 15 seconds. Kino, I appreciate the call. Sorry for the phone problems we were having before, okay?
No problem. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day, sir. Okay, quickly, let's go to line 2, and then that's the last call. Line 2, come on in. That's you.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, hold on. That's really quick. I know you're closing the show, so I'll just say, remember who Barack Obama put on his cabinet and surrounded himself with when he first took office. A lot of Clinton folks.
Yes.
That's what we're going to get. Trust me, the only candidate next to Jill Stein is Bernie Sanders. That's it. End of story.
Thank you, my brother. I got to take care of that next week. But, folks, this has been a wonderful show. Politics Done Right. Thank you for giving me this time. Next week, we'll have our phone situation much better. I am out. I'm Egberto Willies.
I am your host, Egberto. Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled EGBERTO. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.